Welcome back to Patrick Christie Tonight. We are only on GB News. Now, I am joined by Suella Braverman, and earlier today we gave protesters at Cambridge University the opportunity of a lifetime, really, to explain and justify their position to the former Home Secretary. Sadly, no one actually there decided that they wanted to engage, but we have since found one individual who would like to have their say with Suella. So welcome, Fiona. Thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. The National Campaigns Coordinator for the Revolutionary Communist Party, and Fiona has been actively involved in the student encampments. And, yeah, this is an opportunity now, I think, for a bit of engagement, a bit of dialogue, really, which is what we're after. So, Suella, is there anything you'd like to...
Thank you. Well, I respect your opinions, and thank you for coming onto the show to take part in a discussion. One of my first questions that I was very keen to ask, I mean, were you at the encampment?
The Cambridge one, but other ones.
Other ones, OK. And can I ask you what your view is of the events of October the 7th? What do you think happened on October the 7th in Israel?
Well, obviously the camps haven't started because of October the 7th specifically. Right. They're starting, I mean, this week in loads of encampments up and down the country. They've been, celebrating and having to, memorise the fact that this week commemorates the Nakba, which took place 76 years ago, which means catastrophe, which is a massive symbol of what Israel has been doing for the last 76 years. This isn't about October the 7th. And to start with that is just entirely disingenuous, I think, on your part. I really want to say that I think it's great, actually, that you went to that camp today and tried to talk to those students. And you kind of embarrassed yourself, I would say, whilst doing that, because it was a reminder for me, and I'm sure for other people watching, that actually the Palestine movement brought you down, and the Palestine movement has the potential to bring down lots of other Tory ministers and the whole Tory government, and not just the Tory government, I would say any government and any mainstream political party that is backing what Israel is doing right now, which is a genocide, and that's what people want to protest.
Do you want to come back to that?
Bringing down the government. So you're saying your encampment has nothing to do with the events of October the 7th or Israel's response to October the 7th? Is that what you're saying? It's totally detached to October the 7th and Israel's response?
The only thing that is detached, I would say, is actually your views and your approach to this whole situation and the whole of the Tory government. The people, the student protesters, are very attached to what is happening in Palestine, and they are doing what they can in order to stop universities who provide, I think, £450 million to the Israeli state, to the Israeli military, rather than investing in their own education and what they should be putting money into. You are the one, and your government is completely out of touch with what actually the majority of people in Britain think about what's happening. The majority of people in Britain do not support what Israel is doing and actually want us to stop sending weapons. And you were saying today that we should send more, which is completely opposed to what people in Britain actually want. So I think you're detached.
Right. So on arms. So can I ask you, what's your view of Hamas?
I don't want to talk about Hamas. I want to talk about why. And the reason that you want to talk about Hamas is because you want to keep justifying spending more money for Israel, right? Sunak earlier, a month or two ago, was talking about increasing defence spending to 2.5%. They want to spend loads of money on that, but no money on the NHS, no money on education. You want to cut pensions. You want to cut council budgets. That's what the government that you support is doing, which is causing serious suffering in this country as well. So
this is not to do with Hamas. It's not to do with Israel. This is about the Conservative government. Is this an anti-Conservative?
You're bringing up Hamas. Of course we're anti-Conservative because the Conservative government is facilitating and supporting a genocide. And not just that, it's also overseeing a horrific set of policies, austerity policies, that are damaging everyone's lives in Britain today.
OK. So you have no view on Hamas, and you have no message for Hamas, and you have no
I'm not here to
connection
talk about Hamas.
You're not here, right? So
no,
you don't
have
a view.
Connection to Hamas.
OK. And so, what's your message? Do you believe Israel has a right to exist?
What is your message to the majority of people in Britain who don't support you, who hate the Tories, who hate you specifically? Right? You went to Cambridge today. You were saying that
it's a fair question.
I don't want to pile in and look, absolutely, crack on as far as I'm concerned. But she did ask you a direct question there. I think our viewers would like to know: Do you think Israel has a right to exist?
I think that's a silly question, to be honest. And I think you're asking the wrong questions. You're asking those questions to distract from the central point that I was making, which is that the reason you don't like these student protesters and you don't like these encampments, one is because they've already brought you down, but two, it's because of what it represents, which is a growing movement and a growing feeling in this country, which is against the Tories and against any main political parties.
You have made that point. I am very interested. Although when I did go there were lots of posters about Israel, there were posters about Palestine, and there were placards about Gaza. So we can't completely ignore the issue about what's happening in Israel and Gaza.
Let's talk about it seriously. Let's talk about what the Israeli state has done for the last 76 years.
So would you say that Israel has a right to defend itself?
Israel does not have the right to do what it is doing right now, which is a genocide, which is the criminal enslavement and trapping people in certain places and then saying, you've got to move somewhere else. The ongoing invasion of Rafah that has been spoken about today, the displacement of millions of people. Of course they don't have the right to do that, and no one thinks they do.
Right.
And you posing those questions is exactly what makes students in Cambridge think, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to talk to any war criminal, I want to grow this encampment, I want to grow a movement.
Well, it's quite strong stuff. I mean, as far
criminal.
Yeah, I mean, so
you are a war criminal.
How would you respond to that? I mean, you know.
Well, you made some interesting points there about genocide. So let's focus on that. So the legal definition of genocide is the targeted destruction of a group of people defined by their race, their nationality, their ethnicity, or their religion. In what way would you say that Israel is targeting a group by those standards?
Serious. In what way is Israel targeting a group? So the killing and the injuring of over 100,000 people already in Palestine to you doesn't feel like a targeted approach towards specific
Hamas,
people.
And they are aiming
You don't believe that.
degrade.
You don't believe that at all.
If I could finish my point to you, because I've listened to you quite a lot, what do you say about the very legitimate aim, I would put to you, that Israel is targeting a terrorist organisation called Hamas and is aiming to degrade, destabilise and even kill Hamas terrorists?
No. I
disagree with that?
I disagree with that completely. And calling it legitimate, you're talking about legal. Even if you want to talk about the legal world, law, whatever, well, all of those institutions, the International Court of Justice, have also said that legally what is happening and what Israel is doing is a genocide and is moving towards a genocide.
Let's stick to facts
let's stick to facts.
That is actually
40,000 people dead.
Fine.
More than that
injured.
Millions of people displaced. That is the reality. Those are the facts on the ground.
Well, again, let's stay with we're going back to the marches. Now, the issue of the marches, of course, everybody has the right to peaceful protest and expressing their views. But what we have seen, and I'd be interested in your views, is anti-Semitism. We've seen from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That is an anti-Semitic chant calling for the eradication of Israel, the eradication of Israelis, and the eradication of Jewish people.
No, you're a liar. You're a liar. On every single one of these mass protests, right, there is a huge Jewish bloc. In all of these encampments, the encampments that you went to today, even in Cambridge, talking about all this kind of stuff, the Cambridge group, Cambridge Jews for Justice, they said, you are weaponising their identity to promote a culture war. And that's all this is, because you've got no actual real policies or statements or anything to offer people in this country. Let's be honest, the reason you're here and the reason you went today is because you want to be the leader of the Tory party. You're interested in your career. You're interested in promoting that. So that's why you come out with your line about...
Could I ask? I mean, this is obviously I'm completely...
Suella's been sacked, I'm just hearing.
For the second time, Suella Braverman has lost her job as Home Secretary.
Nobody's ever done that before.
It is all... we think it is unprecedented that a Home Secretary is forced out of their job for the second time for effectively misconduct. In this case, it was insubordination to the Prime Minister. Last time, when Liz Truss was Prime Minister, it was an allegation about leaking documents, but there were also policy disagreements. Rishi Sunak has just taken one of the biggest and most controversial calls against his party that he has made as leader. Rishi Sunak came in trying not to destabilise the Conservative Party any more a year ago in the wake of the chaos of Liz Truss. Now, he has, after just about a year of trying to stabilise the party, now decided to confront one of the most important elements on the right of the party, a person, Suella Braverman, who thinks she can be leader of the party after the next general election if there is a defeat. You do have a sense of a Prime Minister now flexing his muscles, proving that he is strong after weeks of whispering that he might be weak. He will not know the scale of the backlash that he may or may not face from Suella Braverman advocates. They were already briefing over the weekend. Is this going to go to the next level?
James Cleverly, Foreign Secretary, just arriving in Downing Street, pausing.
He said it. He said it.
I'm not saying that he's getting the gig. He's Foreign Secretary. I mean, that is one of the big offices of state, Jack.
Sam is extremely excited now, having put it out there as James Cleverly. I mean, what is he doing in there? He's not going in for a quiet cup of tea.
Let me across the road, doesn't he?
Let me explain two things. First of all, the choice of who walks up Downing Street is decided by Downing Street. So who walks up Downing Street matters. Secondly, as we were gaming who the names were yesterday.
Usually, marking a number of days past, especially when it comes to children, means a celebration of joy and life. But on this day, we've gathered to mention something much more heartbreaking.
Now it's a great pleasure to...
Remember, whenever God wants to make a man powerful, he always breaks him into